Hello everyone, and welcome for another video of Love and War Games. And today we are unboxing the Durango Heavy Rail set. We're also going to make, in the second half of the video, a tactical deep dive on what to build, what are your options, and how to play all these units for the units of Armoured Clash. And we also received all those little custom command cards. We're going to open one of them, and they're basically just regular command cards for the game, except those are marked with your favorite faction. So the text should be the same, but we're going to have a look at the quality and see how it changes. As always, guys, before I start, you know how it works. Give us a little thumbs up, a little like, a little comment, which gives you a chance to win a Dystopian Wars Armada or a Newhaven Force, and subscribe and everything. And without further ado, let's start by opening this box. Since I do have some Union painted, we will be able to make a little size comparison, or at least showing you the models when it's painted, except my lane train, which is still at the Majestic, the place where I played those games, and I will not be able to show you, for example, painted Newhaven. That's alright, it's seen already in the latest battle report. Before we right away open the box, let's have a look at what we get. We have a lot of resin, I'm pretty sure, but this is already quite big, and those looks absolutely massive. We're going to have those, two of the classical Armoured Sprues. We're going to have 2 tanks, 2 artillery. We're going to have 4 of those mechs and 5 mechanical bikers, like robots riding on bikes. There's going to be some alternative versions, and we're going to show you all of them because I have a little bit of everything. On top of that, we're going to have 2 main things: the Durango Heavy Shunter, an alternative to the Lakota land train. There are some very specific changes. For example, it's not a common vehicle, so this box you technically cannot play on its own because you have no commander. So it's not a great box to start, even though in the how to expand at the very end of this video, we'll give you some tips on how to go beyond that. You're going to have the 2 Rockridge Flatbeds, which, to be honest, are what excites me the most in terms of unit composition and how they play. They're absolutely insane, and I want like 4 of those. And you're going to have 2 Newhaven forward Garrisons, also very, very good units. I absolutely love them. I think I have like 3 or 4 of them already, but having 2 more is absolutely welcome. And those are very good. This is basically just a transport, so there is no cannons and everything, which is fine because usually you want to play mostly with the transport capacity of the trains. It is a relatively small box. You have the obligatory little paper explaining to you where you can get the free rules and the free robots and everything, and the little papers on it. Let's remember that all the rules are free, and there is a 4th edition of Dystopian Wars coming soon. Fingers crossed, we should be able, by the way, I announced it on the Discord, we should be able to record early battle report of the 4th edition, which I will get a little bit, I should get the rules a little bit in advance, hopefully, and it should be ready at least until when the game is being released. So do expect that, and I'm very happy that unlike Armoured Clash, we will not have to wait 3 months after the release of the game to get our first battle report. So let's, oh my god, let's start with the resin. Oh my god, that is a lot of resin, good lord. Okay, we'll keep it for a second, but it's actually quite heavy. Okay, let's have a look at this. We have some infantry sprues, but you can fill them up with those stuff and make it Cavalry sprues, which is what you're going to want because there is a lot of infantry sprues. You need like only 1 set of those, don't you? The artillery and the tanks don't go on those, so you need 1 of this. I don't know why they give you 3. That's okay, but it's always good to have more bases. I know that at some point I lost some of them, and my friend went, "Oh, don't you have an extra?" I said, "Oh, not really." It's good to have some more in reserve. And okay, there you go. You have 2 Armoured Sprue. Let me zoom a little bit, guys. So what do we get in those? We get first Sprue, 1 tank. You can see that little top here. We're going to have a look at the size of the tank with a few alternatives like weapons and everything. Those go with the mechs because you have mechs as well. This is the front, and this is the rear of the tank, where they climb with a little ladder. As always, like we've seen those sprues already, but I really like the level of details. You have 5 bikers, which are all of them here. Per sprue, they're all of them the little robots. I think they're pretty much all the same. You can have some artillery servants to make little dioramas. Oh, I didn't notice. The first time I didn't notice. There is actually, it's not empty between the legs of this guy. To be honest, I played them the whole time, but I never even noticed. The head of the mech here, head of the bikes, and of course the tank commander you can have on top of the tank. As I show you the units, I can actually show you how they look once painted and everything. So you have 5 bikes here, and they go 2 per base, and so you need 10 bikers to make a small size unit, like a basic size unit of 5 bases, so 10 riders. And here they go, like that. They were painted well by Descent. I just didn't want to spend too much time because I really need I have 150 bases. I will just show you all my Union forces fit in one little Muji set, quite a small one, and you see they fit quite comfortably. But there is a lot of them, so that I want to have more than one army of Armoured Clash, and I do plan on getting the alliance at some point. And I want some of my other things that couldn't get them at the very highest level of detail. Still have some energy there, some nice little effect. I do like them very much. And those bikes, we will see what they do, but they are very, very efficient. Well, you've probably seen them already in the battle report. Talking about efficient, we have the 2 versions of the robots. Those guys that are lockstep, that protect the infantry behind and are still efficient. They shoot far, especially with their Gatling at a reasonable range, and they can wreck heavy vehicles with this. Those guys have arc weapons. They shoot less far, but they have arc everywhere, and those have shorter range, so they will benefit even more of being transported by train. The 2 artillery that we will see a bit later, you have this Armstrong Heavy Artillery, which is just a direct shooting unit. You need to have line of sight in order to shoot. I love it, how it looks like this artillery of the Second World War of the Americans. So it has no base, you just put it somewhere on the floor, on the ground, on the table, better. And those, the absolute MVPs. The Armstrong are not so efficient, and you have other ways to do this. But those are the MOABs, Thermobaric Mortars, and they're probably the best anti-garrisoning infantry in the game right now. The Union doesn't have many anti-tank tools, but boy, if the enemy has infantry and garrison between your pacifiers, which we'll not see today, and those MOABs, you're going to have a very bad time. Finally, you have the tanks. So you have the Rolling Thunder tank, so a good tank with a turret. It's actually not moving, but it could be moving technically. If you look at it, it is a turret. You can shoot a bit everywhere. It is quite an efficient tank, especially defensively. It doesn't have lots of firepower, but it will hold good. It is cheaper and faster than Crown tanks, for example, but the fact that they are cheaper means they are more point efficient, especially if you use them smartly. You're also going to see later the Arc version, so without a pilot, because there is actually kind of like a drone, and shorter range, which would be a big no-no, because usually you want your tank to be further in the back and shoot down. Those guys might enjoy also very much to be deployed by transport train. Finally, the Kodiak artillery tank, which I don't think I will ever use, because just the concept is a bit weird. If you have a tank, it means it's tough, and it means it doesn't want to stay hidden, it doesn't mind being shot at. And if it's an artillery, it doesn't need to have the mobility of a tank or the defensiveness of a tank, especially if it can shoot indirectly. What I wouldn't mind is, for example, the Armstrong cannon on a tank, yes. But to put just a little indirect artillery that is weaker than a MOAB, I don't know how to play it. You don't want to charge with it, otherwise just take a normal tank. You don't want to hide with it either. And if you do what you're supposed to do, which is to hide and shoot indirect fire, then you kind of spending extra points for nothing on its mobility and its resilience. So I'm not sure how to play this guy. The time has come to open all its resin. This might be the most amount, the largest amount of resin I have ever seen in a small box of Armoured Clash or Dystopian Wars. I mean, huge amount of resin. I understand now why it's a bit more expensive than the equivalent to the Crown or anything, because, yeah, resin is expensive. We'll start with the miniature we already know, the Newhaven Garrison. You just need to put some Gatlings on the side, and you're going to be golden. So you could get little Gatlings here and stuff. Okay. There was a teaser that at some point you might be able to deploy them forward, as a kind of forward moving infiltration garrison, whatever you want to call it, and just have it as a bunker instead of just moving around. And I hope it will be possible. It sounds very strong, but if there are some limits, it's going to be very cool. And also it's a good defensive bunker if we one day, and we probably will, make a scenario where an American base is surrounded by hostile force and they need to make a last stand, basically force all over again. If we want to make movies again, we're also going to make for sure an ambush of a train convoy, This is the Durango itself. Looks like a Kodiak or I don't know, those American cars indeed. You are supposed to put an anti-air cannon on top. You absolutely know this. The build instructions are not there, like they are online, and I'm really lost without them. Okay, second of this. There is the anti-air cannon. Oh, it's very cool. So this little guy, what's it gonna build up is gonna be amazing. You get the thing that is going to make it hover, because it's supposed to be a hover tank. I guess it's like something like this, yes, supposedly, the other way around. Okay, now it's starting to look cool. Okay, very well. So this is going to be the Durango. You got all the floating things for the Newhavens, for the and for the flatbed and stuff. So Newhaven going there. Okay, very well. Maybe you should magnetize one of them really to use it not as a floating one, but if you can deploy them early in the game, just to drop them like this, like as a real mover. Because I have 3 Newhavens, I need to make a balance between my needs for ultra competitive games, which happens rarely, and the fact of like maybe I want just those 2 guys not floating and just kind of guarding the base or something. Yeah, that might be very cool. You need to do that. And finally, of course, the flatbeds, which for those guys who will want to use the transport wheels like anti-gravs, and they are indeed, spoiler of the rules, they have a little increased defense here, and from the side, well, you are quite in the open. As always, of course, the level of details is very high. We start to be used of this, but of course, work resin is, as always, absolutely impeccable. Okay, I think we've seen enough of those new miniatures. What I'm very excited to talk to you about is how to actually play with them, and we'll of course review as well like how to play the MOAB and everything. But first we're gonna start with the new units, and boy is there some very, very cool combos that you're very excited to go today. So let's switch without further ado to the Tactica. And no, stay here. I'm sorry, I didn't want to, I was so excited. No, before the Tactica, guys, we need to open the Union Command and Conquest deck. Let's open, before we switch to the Tactica, this Union Command and Conquest deck. And I'm going to keep the others open, closed, because they should be exactly the same, just the back changes. And I'm going to give you like a share those new ones with the rest of the team, so you have a little paper to explain. Like if you bought this by mistake, here are the rules. And yeah, you have the, oh my god, that's very cool. You have these very nice cards. Okay, you know what, I will actually show you the other decks, and I will compare with the basic cards. Those are the basic cards, those that I've used already, so you see they're quite generic. If you play multiple factions or you don't really care about this, you can keep those. And otherwise you have this, I will actually open it. And here it is. Okay, you get all the, almost looks like a poker card like this with the eagle and the blue. Basically exactly the same, you know how the cards are. They are absolutely mandatory if you want to play the game. Like, I don't know, okay, I guess you can't play without it, really. It's degraded version, and there are some units that need those cards to activate, and it's a good resource management game as well, so you really absolutely need this. And I like that if you, oh my god, yeah, there is a sense, okay, let's see that, good. And I like that if you buy the introductory set or whichever box it has, you can buy the dice, but you were forced to buy those on top if you don't have, for example, the massive faction battle group starter, which usually I recommend starting with, but for some reason you have not the cards, you need to buy this, and it feels bad, to be honest, to have to buy those cards, like I could have them for free, huh? Now you can at least buy the custom ones for your faction, and be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to support the game, because we're still not a massive company like, I don't know, or a Game Workshop or anything, so I'm going to support them, and support my faction, and having those very nice little cards. There's a little shade for the stars, a little American shield, of course, the eagle. It's very, very American, those cards. And I like that you can not feel bad with buying cards, or you can support extra, and even if you already have the basic ones, you get those. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the Crown Command set. And glory! So you have all the icons, the lines here, the line there, which is like the logo of Normandy, like our Normandy. Why they have an Iron Cross of the Imperium, I don't know. They took a little bit from everything, the Temple of Sword, and the Crown of the British King, I guess. Yeah, also very nice, also very standard. And yeah, if you play for the glory of the crown, well, there you have your cards. We continue with the Empire, and here they go. They also look, well, I guess blue and red do feel like the cards, and have all the symbols. This very typical Asian symbol, like I'm not sure what it means, but I've seen it many times. Little fire, because, well, alchemical fires everywhere. This I have no idea what it is. If you guys know what this Empire symbol is, I'm not even sure if it's supposed to be upward. Okay, I could make hypothesis, but I will not. Okay, it looks like a chandelier to me, or an eye, or that, and of course the dragon in the center, but still very, very cool card. Continuing with the Enlightened, I like that they have the little Eureka light bulb here. Of course, the main head, and is that Tiberium? For me, it's Tiberium. I'm sorry, guys. Get up, not make me see it. Okay, they have Tiberium because, of course, they fight with him. And the little cog inside this could be an Adeptus Mechanicus logo. If there was not so like smart and about enlightenment and light bulbs. The very last one that we are checking is the Imperium, and they are quite classic with white styling. They're a little bit purplish. I'm not sure if it shows to the camera, but if I compare, for example, to the crown, you see the crown is a bit more like dark. So this one is more purplish. I guess Commonwealth will be red, Alliance will be, what is the color of Alliance? Orange, I actually don't know. And so that will be green. You see the little lightning here, which I won't tell you what it reminds me of, but I don't like it that much. The crossed sword, of course, the iron cross right here, and there are 3 dots here. I wonder, like it's probably supposed to mean something, the Holy Trinity, I guess not. And there you have the very stylish ones, but of course the first ones are the Americans. So there you go, guys. Here are all the little cards, like they're basically classical Command and Conquer, Command and Conquer deck. Is it? No, Command and Conquest deck. Yeah. They're basic ones, but they have these cool little colors. I guess we're gonna see it for every single faction. The ones that are coming will have already been announced. And do you like them? Which faction do you play? And are you happy with your cards so far? I really like those. For example, I would be very happy for them to be an Empire player or Enlightened as well. Those are probably my favorite one. The Crown is a classical one, and the German one makes me a bit uncomfortable. Now that we have finished with this, let's go for the Tactica dive of the Durango. So how to actually play the Durango Heavy Rail set and what miniatures to build. That's what we're going to take a look. We're going to talk about the general Union playstyle, the trains, how they work. We are currently in ORBAT version 1.02 beta, so but it's been for a while. I don't think it's going to change that much, especially since there are some very powerful combos, but not completely OP, so it doesn't seem like it will change much. Let's start by talking about the Union playstyle. Let's remember that you have seen them in a battle report. They are very mobile, very much with mechanized infantry that can project themselves forward very efficiently. They have great infantry, like the basic infantry is okay, and especially they have great fire teams that boost so much the infantry. Like the infantry is kind of like the tax to bring fire teams, even though when you buy the very expensive fire teams and they die, you are very sad. The jetbags is great. They have some good flankers and especially very tough robotic cavalry that we will talk about. Also talking about robotic forces, they have the real anchor, the real tanks, like damage spawns of your army are going to be a robot. They are cheap and very annoying to deal with. The tanks are fast but also have good range. I mean, they have good average tanks, so they are not insane. And the land trains are great. Like you have seen them, we'll talk again about how it works. Basically, you can build trains. The bigger the game in terms of points, the longer the trains you can make. You can have few trains, etc. Those are your behemoths. And then you can move around, use the trains like the wagons to shoot, or in this case to transport infantry and tanks around. And it's actually really, really good. Like, I mean, I love this playstyle. It's a bit stupid to have those giant hover trains just flying around. You feel like you're really playing with toys. But I mean, it's an efficient playstyle. So let's remember what you get inside the box. You have this massive Durango Heavy Rail set with those huge flatbeds, which are basically double
how we call this, wagons, double wagons, to have the space to put tanks on them and stuff, and 2 Newhaven Garrisons, which we love. We need always more Newhaven Garrisons. I love those models, and I love the playstyle that they allow, especially now that you can put pacifiers in them. Also gonna get 2 tanks, 2 artillery, 4 robots, so basic size, and 5 robotic cavalry without any build options. Those are only the Iron Eagle cavalry, so you cannot make either the Gatling cavalry or the sword cavalry, which have humans on them, which are found on the light sprues. We're gonna start. I'm gonna just put this to you, like how to use the land train. It didn't change much, but basically what you need to remember is that you can decouple, or you start as a train and you can decouple stuff. You can, after you decouple some wagons, the wagons move still a little bit with the inertia, and then they don't move. And from the next turn, they have their own activation, they're their own units, they can shoot, they can do whatever they want, but you cannot move them anymore. We don't have yet back what was spoiled in beta of being able to deploy some bunkers as forward deployment. It's not there yet. We hope it's going to be there at some point, especially for the Newhavens. We will see. Otherwise, you can always make some narrative scenarios with this. And apart from this, it's actually quite intuitive how it works. Like it's a lot of words, but it's quite intuitive. Now, what you all wait for is like, how do you actually play those things? Well, you have the Durango Heavy Shunter, and I'm very happy to say that it's absolutely not just the Lakota Heavy Land Train bis at all. First of all, it's not a commander, so big difference with Lakota. It's an armored, so it's gonna take space in your armored detachment. Be careful with that. Otherwise, it's the same. Like it's an engine, it's a heavy rail, it's basically the same as a Lakota. Much cheaper at 160 points. Yes, you heard that right. But it's also less resilient. Defense 4 as well, but damage limit of 6 only. So it's basically just tough tank, but that's it. And so it can die fast, this little engine. It doesn't have any anti-heavy firepower. It has barely noticeable anti-light firepower, 357 with turret. However, it also has a quite fair anti-air firepower. Okay, I say fair. It's not insane at all, but in Union we are quite starved for anti-air firepower, so we take everything we can. You can shoot up to 16 inches, 369, and so you're gonna start at 9 dice, but then as soon as you take 3 damage, you're gonna start to degrade fast. That's a lie. And it's turret, so you can intercept things 360 very well, and devastating, so you can make another point of damage. All right. This unit, especially for its defense, the one thing he has, it's durable, so heroic strikes score 1 hit instead of 2. It's a bigger rule than you can believe. And it's hover, so it can just, well, it's floating. It doesn't care about the terrain under it. Overall, for 160 points, I mean, I would bring a lot of them if they were commanders. And that's good that they are not, because they would just replace the Lakota outright, probably. And here they take some of your precious, very precious armored space in your battalions, like your battle groups, and because of this, I think you need to consider very highly your list, the rest of your list. If you have the points and you have a way to cover the entire, the Lakota is going to be better all the time. But if you are either starved for points, or you need for sure anti-air, or for example you don't care much about spaces in your battle group, you're like, oh, but yeah, I have a lot of extra armored spot that I don't use. What should I do? Well, then, for sure, you can use the Durango. Let's say you spam infantry and you just want something to carry all your Newhaven garrisons, then the Durango is good. I mean, be careful though, it's less tough than the Lakota, but yeah, it is good. So it's a very good side grade for the Lakota, very different. And again, be careful, not a commander. Now, the big change, the thing that is going to change a lot of my lists now in Union, is the Rockridge Flatbed. It's 55 points, so the cheapest of all the different transport, and this thing is insane in the versatility that it has. Let's start with the boring stuff. 55 points is not much. Defense 3, damage limit 6. So let me just say that it's almost as tough as the Durango. Almost, but still, like, wow. It has resilient front, so it has +1 defense from the front. So if you shoot in this small angle here or from the back, it's not going to be much of an importance when you are moving with your train. But once you are deployed, try to make sure that the tough part is facing the enemy, basically. Apart from being very resilient, the main thing is that it can carry armored or artillery. And I didn't put, did I put No, I didn't put the whole rule for this carrier. Oh yeah, I'm blind. I put it right in the middle of the screen. And yeah, as you can see, you can carry tanks and everything. And I will right away tell you why it's not OP, because it could be, but it's quite strong still. It is not OP because you cannot carry, no matter how many flatbeds you put, you cannot carry, for example, a pack of 6 tanks and then disembark them and shoot around and stuff. No. Good. Because it's always going to be basic units, so minimum sized unit. And you're going to be able to carry few different basic sized, as they say here, yeah, basic size reinforcement unit on each flatbed, so you can have a lot of different activations, yes, but you cannot carry the whole units, like you cannot carry 6 tanks as one unit on 3 flatbeds, which is good because this thing has open top, which means that when it's loaded, you can make an additional ranged attack at the end of the attack steps, so you can make a double move or whatever. It's like an extra free attack, weaken, good, with the row of the embarked unit. So all the tanks or artillery that are on it are gonna make an attack using this unit's weapons. I mean, okay, that's good. Good that you cannot pile it up, because even weakened, this would be just extra life for the tanks, which don't really need it, but also artillery. Like I'm thinking of the Armstrong, for example, that are quite weak, like vulnerable, and sometimes you put them in a position you're not happy. Well, put them embarked on this thing, and then they can just shoot from the train. Okay, that's extremely cool as a concept. But damn, is that strong. Good that it's weakened and that you cannot pile them up as a huge force, but still, wow. That's not everything. Oh, but no, that would be, you were like, is it over? But no. You can also have the rule ammo supply for all units, which means that any units within 3 inches of the flatbeds gain an additional combat rating to ranged attacks. So this means that this thing, whether it's attached to a train or not, mostly not, is going to give a combat rating to everyone within 3 inches. So you can see the second way to use this is to drop it somewhere, maybe forward deployed when it's going to be, if we're going to have the capacity, or then just drop it with your, at the first turn or whatever. Keep it deployed next to your tanks, next to your artillery, next to your whatever, and it's just going to, for 55 points, give them a combat rating extra forever. Like until it's destroyed, but it's so tough, like it's basically a waste of firepower at this point. Just to the tanks if your opponent brings a flatbed, because this thing is very tough. Whew. Okay, so lots of versatility in there, as we can see. This means, again, I'm pointing out to the previous battle report. Remember when I had 6 tanks in a forest, so they could not move and compensate the -1 with a +1 to combat rating in order to shoot at normal capacity. With the flatbed deployed hidden next to them, it means with a +1, even though they're in the forest, it compensates, it can give them pioneers, let's say, and they can shoot at full firepower by not moving all the time. Wow, of course I'm buying this. I mean, what can I say? And the last thing that you can think is like, okay, you can put a giant artillery cannon on it and shoot with open top. What you can do as well is put robots that are very slow on it. And you can put little units of mechs and put them closer to the enemy. And when you get close enough, you drop them and you are in melee range because you're carrier. So when you make a disembark, you are coordinated, so you can really move the train, make an open top attack for free, by the way, with your Gatling of the mechs or with the electrical arc weapons of the mech and stuff, disembark the mech, and then make a shooting or a charge or whatever right away without letting the opponent interrupt you because you're coordinated. What can I say? That's amazing. Open top, so you can just move around and shoot with your tanks or your artillery. Or you can drop this and next to your tank or your artillery, maybe after you've even moved the first turn and got into a better position, and have an additional combat rating. Brilliant. And you can also use it to bring closer some melee forces, such as, for example, your mechanized, like your mechs, your Union mechs. The one thing you cannot put is you cannot carry transport. I forgot where it's written somewhere, but basically, I think it was written somewhere, but pretty sure I've read. Yeah, unit with a transport traits cannot be carried. So you cannot carry transport. That would have been insane. to move your train, then drop your little transport trucks, move the trucks, and then disembark some infantry. That would have been hilarious, but it's not possible. Good. Overall, flatbeds, are they OP? I don't know, but they are so useful. Like, I mean, they don't do anything. In the sense, they don't have weapons. They're just standing there. They have literally no weapons. But for 55 points, the fact that they give you so many options of with open top, with assault, they have assault ramp as well. Oh my god! So you can disembark right away. Oh my god, that's I forgot that. So if you don't disembark your tanks and everything, you can disembark, and it's gonna be even more mobility for the troops that you have inside, like the tanks and everything. Amazing. And so open top is the one thing. Ammo supply is another thing. So many useful things. And it's resilient in the flanks. And remember the flank, like we've talked about it, resilient flank, so from the front. I love it. I think the flatbeds are the revelation of this box. And I think every Union player at some point will want to have one, maybe two of those. Because damn, so useful. Let's switch with the other two wagons that you have, the Newhaven forward garrisons. Those, I've talked about them at length. All the units now, I've talked about them quite a lot before in the how to start with the Union. So if you want to have a deep dive, go back there. But basically, Newhaven forward garrisons, very good. They actually have non-negligible firepower. They can shoot 14 inches on both sides with field of fire, very good. They also have strong points, so if you have infantry inside, you can control objectives, so it's very good to drop on somewhere, and then you're like, okay, you know what? That's it. Try to shoot at me. I still control the objective, and when it has like 1 damage limit left, you can disembark your infantry. But it's like a mobile garrison, very good. Spawn zones, it's fine, and especially it transport infantry very efficiently. You can, with the two, like, I think the best thing to transport with those guys are, actually, both are very good. Basic infantry, so 6 base plus 2 base for the fire teams. That's very good. With you can put them reinforced if you have 2 Newhavens, because unlike carrier, they don't have the restriction that they can only carry basic sized unit. So 2 Newhaven, you can have 2, like a reinforced unit of infantry plus 2 different fire teams. Very good. Or what you can do as well is to carry a reinforced unit, like with the 2 Newhavens, of those pacifiers, because capacity of 8, it's not spacious, nope, but there is only 4 pacifiers for a basic unit, so even if they take twice as much space, it still fits in the capacity of the Newhaven. So really a brilliant little bunker, and you can put whatever you want, infantry with fire teams or pacifiers. Both case is going to be very efficient. Just remember that pacifiers cannot disembark from the Newhaven, and at the same time make like board a building, like I would call it, get inside a building, garrison a building at the same time and shoot, because they use their movement to disembark the Newhaven, and then they use their attack phase to get inside the building. So you will not be able to get inside the building and still shoot. Something to be careful. As you have seen in the last battle report, we had a few issues with that. Overall, it's tough. Defense 4, damage limit 4. I mean, I love the Newhavens, and I just wish we could already deploy them as forward bunkers with some infantry inside, even though that would be very, very strong. I don't know how they're going to balance it, but it's such a cool concept. Now we switch to the tanks. The Rolling Thunder main battle tanks, 125 points going to 215 and 325, depending on the number. Okay. Damage limit 3, defense 3, but they are resilient from the front, so defense 4. Okay. So surprisingly tough from the front. I mean, there are no Galahads, which are like defense 4, damage limit 4, sure. But they are also tough-ish. They have good range, and they have some good firepower with their turret, 5, 10, 16, at 26 inches. I mean, not bad at all. And they are fast at speed 7. I know that some people recommend in the lore and stuff to use them as flankers because they are fast and have turrets, but I like them better to do something that the Union doesn't do very well, is to give extra firepower from afar, probably in a ruin or in a forest, which is what they've been doing last time, because defense 4, damage limit 3, with a good anti-heavy firepower is exactly what I want for my Union. Plus they have Sponson, and you've seen this literally saved them when they got charged by angry hammer and dynamite wielding Scottish in the last battle report. Sometimes Sponson is just enough to kill the unit that you need. However, I'm still surprised, and I suppose it's going to change some point, that Sponson is not a value per level of reinforcements, because it seems weird that a single Rolling Thunder with its Gatling has exactly the same level of firepower as 6 of them. It should scale up a bit, is what I'm saying. Overall, let's remember that I also have anti-aerial firepower just in case you need, because they're not versatile enough. And you have actually one of the MVPs. Like, I would not spam them, but they really have a role in the Union forces, and I would recommend all Union players to have 2 or 4 of those ready to roll. Let's remember that if you play them inside an open top flatbed, it's going to be, for example, 5 dice weakened, be careful, but it is still going to be efficient, and with turrets you can really shoot everywhere you want. The Reaper Arc tank is probably something that you will be happier to use with the transport or with the flatbeds, because okay, it's more expensive, but it has less range. So it has 140, 240, 365, okay, expensive. Same defense profile, automata, so they don't run away and they have no discipline, in the sense they don't care about discipline. Great, even though you cannot give them command. They can only shoot up to 18 inches with a bit less dice, 4, 8, 12 against light and against infantry. So a bit quite significantly better against infantry and less dice, but arcs, so almost balances out against heavy. However, their thing is that they have stoic defense, so if someone charges them, they're gonna strike first, because they're gonna have the, basically if they get charged, they strike first. Let's sum it up like this. The enemy is considered to have disordered charge, blah blah, okay. And in melee they have 369 with arc, so they will kill quite a few infantry before they charge, like much more efficiently than our friend with the Sponson right here. So yeah, really like those guys. They are more expensive, which makes me a bit sad with them. But if you want to make the Reaper Arc tanks work, having those guys in each flatbed shooting 4 dice with arc is good. Like, it can spike hard, it's gonna be scary for your opponent. And then you can just drop it in the middle and not care that much that it has such a low range. Last version of the tanks, the Kodiak artillery tank. I'm not a big fan of this guy. Like, I'm a bit sad after what I've seen them doing on the Donnerschlag, for example, artillery for the Imperium. But, well, it has good range. That's the good thing I will say about him. It's indirect and no specific rule. Against heavy, it's really not great. 357 with indirect. Like, I mean, technically you can try to hunt artillery with this, but you're just gonna bounce up with this number of dice within indirect. And against light, 4, 8, 12 indirect, sure, but you have better indirect anti-light firepower anyway. Against heavy, sure, but do you want to spend 130, 220 or 340 points on tanks that are tough? I mean, they're not gonna die, but do you want to spend this much points to send 7 dice against enemy artillery with weakened attack to maybe do a wound or 2? I don't think so. I'm very sad. Like, they don't have a role. I think at some point they're just gonna change the entire datasheet and make them anti-air forces, because that's something the Union is kind of needing. But right now they're just not great. And if you want this specific role, you're gonna buy the MOABs, which, like, just showing you for the spoiler, indirect 4, 8, 12. Okay, now we're talking. Or indirect against light 5, 11, 16. With torrent on top of that, and anti-aerial attack. Yes, it's much more fragile, like extremely more fragile, but it's also cheaper, and you're indirect, so you don't care about being fragile. So yeah, the Kodiak is unfortunately really not great right now, but good because you have 2 other alternative tanks to build as. The UR-75 Heavy Mechs, now those guys, both of those guys are value incarnate. 75 points, 130 or 195 for 4 base, 8 base, 12 base. Those guys scale very well in terms of anti, like, for example, light firepower. There are 4, 8, 12 with devastating. which is already good. Their melee 5-8-12 is also very good. Against tanks, they are absolute tank wreckers. 8-12-15, alright. Most of the time you're gonna fight enemy tanks and stuff, so they don't even fight back. And anyway, 15 dice, you're gonna make quite some damage. You're gonna basically statistically kill a Galahad with that. Okay, great. And the great thing with those guys is that they are automata, so they have lockstep. Before we go to the mechs, we go a little bit back in time or further in time, because as you can see I changed, it's another day for me. We go back to the Newhaven. One thing that I made a little mistake about, like I didn't update the datasheet correctly, is that the Newhaven forward garrison actually has spacious. It got it in an update, the 1.01, and I forgot to update this image from the previous orbit. And so yeah, it means that this thing with capacity of 8, a single Newhaven can have a reinforced unit of pacifiers. That is huge. Like that's what I actually used in the battle reports. I was like, didn't it? And yeah, it means it's good to carry indeed some units of fire teams with, a unit of infantry with fire team, but it's even better as transport of pacifiers, and that's what I would recommend using them as, even though there is no bad answer. Going back to the mechs, those are insane. As I've said a little bit before, these are absolute tanks. You can play them by 4, by 8, by 12, and they're just so tanky for the point cost and everything. They're kind of like their armor, technically, so heavy, so they count as tanks. Wow. They are defense 3, damage limit 2, and they are automatas, which means they will never break. Like you cannot kill them by morale, which is actually a very big thing. They have a little Gatling 4-8-12 devastating against lights with a reasonable range of 16. So those are units that I like to put with Vanguard moves, like pre-game, a big pack of 12, which is what I did. You just push it forward fast, and it's good. Trust me, it's very efficient. They can shoot well light infantry like cavalry and stuff that are being sent your way, and then if they break through, they have attacks, melee attacks 5-8-12, which is okay, and against tank it becomes 8-12-15 at full strength. Wow, so that's really good. They're also quite defensive. They are the only armor unit that I know so far, maybe in another orbit, but I don't have it in the top of my mind. They are the only armored unit with lockstep, which means they will be in lock formation like infantry, kind of like moving forward, and they have bulwark, which means they protect, like you cannot, like they block line of sight. Usually in Armoured Clash, even if there is a tank between you and the target or infantry, it doesn't block line of sight. You can have a little malus, like a penalty to the shooting, but you don't block line of sight. Those guys do block line of sight, and they are size 2, as you can see here. So they really completely hide infantry behind them, and they actually also completely hide tanks behind them. So that's really, really good. Between lockstep and bulwark, you can make a big line to really cover your infantry, or just put them like 4-4-4 in lines, and that's going to be very efficient. I love them. They're extremely cheap, 75, 130, 195. I always now start my list with a pack of 195 heavy mechs, because the Union is a bit class cannony, let's say. You have 2 units that are good for tanking, mechs and robot bikes, in my opinion. If there are more, I didn't find them yet. But it's so important to have tanky units, and those do the job well, that I think they are essential part of the Union. The Union does not work well at all without tanks to absorb the firepower. Those are brilliant tanks in the sense of damage sponges. Then there is the alternative version, a bit more expensive, 85, 145, 220. Same defensive profile, same everything. They have stoic defense, which means if they get charged, they will punch back before the enemy with not great attack, 4, 6, 8, arc and suppressive, so fine, but I mean, don't count on it to just slaughter outright a big cavalry charge, but still nice. Their anti-light is maximum range of 12, 4, 8, 12 arc, not amazing. Anti-heavy is getting interesting, 5, 10, 15, also with arc. So, I mean, those are good short-range tank killers. Those with a very short range, I'm quite happy to carry in the flatbeds that we have seen before. First of all, they can shoot if the enemy gets close from the open top, or you can indeed just move the transport, disembark, move, and shoot them. Which makes a threat range from 17 inches from the flatbeds, which is reasonable. And then if you get close to the enemy and the enemy charges you, because you expose yourself quite well, then you're still going to be able to punch with, let's say it's a minimum size unit in the transport, still going to punch 4 with arc and suppressive. It can punch back indeed quite well against light anti-tank infantry. And finally, also MVPs, like those are also the tanky units of the Union. The Iron Eagle Cavalry, bit expensive, but wait a second. 5, 10, 15 models, okay, good, like cavalry. Cost 90, 155, 235. I also like very much, whenever possible, to put them at full strength, so 235. But you get 15 models, defense 3, you heard that right, defense 3 for cavalry, that's great, only 1 wound each, but still. It means they're going to be very annoying, and they're also automatas. That's amazing. They're not super, they're not super efficient in terms of killing. They don't have crazy firepower. Anti-light at 10 inches, 357 arc, not great. Anti-heavy 4812, not great either. I mean, it's something, but they are here to hold the line. Like you send them forward, speed 7. Fair defense, like very fair defense of 3 for their point cost and for the number. 15 bases at defense 3 is going to take a while to deal with, especially again since they're automatas. So that is great, and I love them. The big question is, do you play 2 packs of 10s or 1 pack of 15 and everything? Depends on your list, depends on what capacity you have in your deck building and everything. But you will never be upset with the Iron Eagle Cavalry. The other human cavalry or glass cannons, absolutely, or objective makers for the sword one, or glass cannon with the Gatling one, those are efficient.
Stop it.
And to finish, the very last things that we will get in the box are 2 artillery that you can build as either the Armstrong Heavy Artillery or the MOAB that we'll see later. Currently, before the release of this box, the best answer was to make MOABs. That's it. Like the Armstrong was fragile and was not very useful in the sense like you need the MOAB, the Armstrong you can do without. However, now I'm starting to be very much interested in the Armstrong, especially because of the open top rule of the flatbeds. Armstrongs are 100 points for 2, which is what you can build with the box, 170 for 4, and 260 for 6 of them. Speed 3, they don't move. Defense 2, damage limit 2. That's where it starts to be annoying. So 4 hits, like 4 points, yeah, 4 hits, you're dead. And so minimum sized, 8 hits, which statistically like about 8 or 10 dice anti-heavy, you're gone. Yes, you can shoot 45 inches, which is huge. However, it does mean that if an enemy can shoot at you with counter battery or whatever, you're gonna die, especially since the Armstrongs don't have any type of indirect firepower. So they shoot a little bit better than tanks. And do they actually 6, 10, 14 against heavy, 5, 10, 15, so you shoot further, but you're not that much better than just main battle tank. Yes, you shoot further once again. And against light, you are better with 4, 6, 8, but again, don't use these against light. Melee, you're terrible and you die instantly. And then you're like, why would I put that? I tried to put this in a battle, not a battle report, it's a battle that I made against Crown without recording it. And I played my Armstrong and I was very disappointed. They don't move, they have 1 avenue of fire, so they can be avoided. And then the enemy can just make some movement and shoot on them and one-shot them with tanks or whatever. And then you're like, yeah, okay, great. Now it gets much better because of the flatbed for 2 reasons. First of all, the flatbeds, you remember, has ammo supply. So let's say you put 6 Armstrongs in a forest, in a room, like somewhere in cover. If they don't move, and they will not move, they just aim, it will compensate the forest, and then you still get +1 from the ammo supply, so they can shoot, let's say, 14 dice while being in cover. So the enemy, they get, like, let's say, kind of concealed, like they get penalty again for the shooting of the enemy, and they shoot at super good power, so rerolling with all the reroll that you can hope for at 45 inches. So 1 flatbed next to them makes them really worthwhile. But what really makes them worthwhile is that they don't benefit so much against lights at all and against heavy at all, even worse, of scaling up. It's 6, 10, 14, so you start at 6 dice and then you raise the number, you gain +4, +4. So it means the best points for value like is going to be when you are at minimum size of 2. Not really true because the scale, you see, you start from 100 to 170. Okay, you get, but you know why. The flatbed is much more resilient. It's defense 3, damage limit 6. So it means this little guy right here needs not 8 wounds to wipe out the entire unit, but 18. And let's remember, it can be resilient if you shoot from the front and stuff. Like, wow, really great. So it means you can have a pack, like a unit of Armstrong on the flatbeds, 1 unit on 1 flatbed or 2 units on 2 flatbeds, and just use those like as mobile artillery, like just shooting everywhere. And let's say the enemy shot down your main Lakota or whatever you use to transport this, or it has like a 2 damage limit left, like so 2 wounds left, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna die next turn. Well, then move the flatbed, use assault ramp to disembark the artillery, and then make it in a forest, even better. So then the enemy is like, okay, what do I do? Well, it doesn't matter that much to kill the flatbed, so maybe I try to shoot the little artillery, but now you're hidden in forest and you can survive a little bit longer. And if it doesn't shoot on your flatbeds anymore, it means that it will give ammo supply to this artillery that you just disembarked. That is like, okay, maybe I should dedicate some firepower to finish the flatbed, but then it's not firepower that goes on your artillery. So really, it's really, I think, a good combo to start with the artillery on the flatbeds and just go around and use them to shoot 45 inches mobile. Yes, you're gonna be weakened, whatever, like it's a price I'm willing to pay. 6 dice on each flatbed. It's gonna be annoying. Is it gonna be OP? I don't think so. Like, it's still only 6 dice, like, don't get crazy, but it shoots very well and it gives them resilience and mobility that they want. And then at some point, if you really find a good firing position, just disembark with the flatbed, assault ramp, disembark in a good position, hopefully in a forest. Then the flatbed doesn't move and you can shoot full capacity, full power, so with a positive rating against enemies at 45 inches. That's, for me, the new combo that has been unlocked with the flatbed and the whole box. There are lots of good combos, but this one, wow. Another artillery that benefits a lot of this, even though a little bit less, is the MOAB. Why a little bit less and why still, yes, it does benefit? Less because it's indirect, and it means that you could deploy anywhere and still threaten the center of the board without many issues. Like, I mean, it would work, absolutely. It would work, absolutely. However, this is the thing that makes me say, like, it didn't need mobility, just need to hide, shoot its anti-infantry, like anti-light, full power, 16 dice, torrent, so very good at kicking all the infantry that tries to get in buildings in the center. That's why it didn't need as much as the Armstrong. However, the range is a bit shorter, 28 inches against heavy and 32 against light, which makes me say maybe those guys do enjoy getting transported, shooting through the flatbeds, even though it's not many dice, and then disembarking and shooting. However, 2 things about this. First of all, unlike the opposite of the Armstrong, it gains more and more each time. You start with 5 and then you gain +6, going to your peak right here at 11 dice, and then +5 again. So you don't mind that much against your preferred target to scale up. So you do lose a bit if you go on a flatbed, which means you need to stay at the basic size reinforcements. Another thing that is a bit sad is that you cannot use this ammo supply combo to gain +1, like to a positive rating, because when you shoot in indirect, which is what you usually want to do, it means that you will always be weakened. I forgot what it is. Yeah, your active is weakened regardless of combat rating bonuses or penalties, like always weakened. So that's a bit like, that's harsh. For the capacity of shooting at short range, so removing the short range issue-ish, and then being able to disembark somewhere in a forest, because whatever, if you're gonna shoot, or very well hidden, because then you don't care like about penalties and stuff, you're gonna be weakened, and then being able to shoot in indirect against enemy artillery or whatever that is hidden, that's a good thing. However, you're still only shooting 5 or 4 dice. That's not great at all. I still think the #1 winner is the Armstrong. That is what you want to put on your flatbeds. So that's the new combo, but apart from that, the MOABs as a unit themselves, let's not talk about combos, is still one of the best anti-light artillery of the game, probably the best, because, as we've said, 5, 11, 16 dice, indirect, torrent. So if you shoot indirect, which might not always be the case, but if it is indirect, you're weakened. Otherwise, you shoot 16 dice with bonus, then the enemy is obliterated. It's a torrent, which means the enemy does not get the benefits of defense +1 defense, which is huge when they're in the building, and they're not concealed either. So if you shoot with line of sight, the enemy is obliterated, and even without line of sight, the enemy is obliterated as well. It's the best tool you have in your arsenal to kick infantry out of cover, bar none. Maybe pacifiers are number 2, like not far, but still, MOABs are an absolute threat. And if they're if there is no infantry in cover or whatever, shoot at cavalry pack, shoot at snipers in forest. You don't care. They just snipers in forest get obliterated the same as everyone else. So a very, very powerful unit, but with a price. Like, they are still extremely fragile. Good, they are indirect, and 310 for 6. I mean, the enemy will have a huge incentive to keep units in reserve, try to flank, send I don't know, aircrafts at them. Those guys will attract the thunder of the opponent because they're weak, they're extremely powerful, and they cost a lot of points and bring your opponent a lot of victory points. So expect your opponent to try to deal with your MOABs any way they can. Alright, we've seen everything in this box. Now, you want to expand. What are the best ways? Well, no big surprise, the number one best way is the Union Faction Battle Group. I didn't update everything, which is 150 euros, so that is quite a lot, but look at what you get. You get more tanks and everything. You get like 4 more tanks, so you can make every armored sprue at full strength. You can make full strength artillery, full strength mech, amazing, full strength mechanized like robot cavalry, incredible, full strength, like everything you want at full strength for sure. Because your tanks, your artillery MOABs, your robots for sure to tank, and your Iron Eagle cavalry, you all of them want them at full strength. The infantry, the transport, etc., of the other sprue, the light sprues, you might be fine having them at basic or reinforced to gain some activation, etc. But those guys that you will be able to get at full strength, thanks to having those 2 boxes, you're very happy to have them. And then you're going to start to have some infantry and stuff, because you need some infantry to put, I don't know, into the Newhavens and into the transports and everything. So that's going to be really, really nice. I'm not going to make the full review again. If you want to have more information, we have a video, how to start with the Union in Armoured Clash, where I explain basically everything. You've heard my opinion on the tanks and artillery and everything, but you can hear what I think of the infantry, transport, light cavalry, light artillery, etc. there. And of course you get the Lakota as well, which means you're going to get a 3rd Newhaven, 2 different types of artillery wagon, let's say, and the Lakota, so you can really mix and match. You're going to have 2 land trains quite with different engines. You can really mix and have a good time with that. That's my number 1 recommendations. And as always, for big purchases like this, especially, remember that you have minus 15% on MOAB play, so that's a big impact. And my wife is laughing that I say this. And remember, though, she will not love if I say that you can choose Love and War Games, and then we get 5% back of your purchase. So thank you very much. It helps us. It helps you to have much cheaper miniatures, and it helps MOAB Plays, which is trying to help content community in France to grow. So thank you very much if you do that. Number 2 ways to expand, the other expansion is the Lakota Battle Group. It can go good with the first one or as an alternative. It's basically the same, except you get the Lakota, you get the infantry a little bit less, quite a less. You only have 2 sprues of light infantry, cavalry, etc. instead of 4, and you have none of the armored. And you don't have the terrain, and you don't have the dice, and you don't have the dice, you don't have anything. So for half the price, okay, more than half the price, you have considerably less. However, if you don't need, I mean, go for it. This is great if you want a huge Union army and you want to be like, okay, that's it, I'm set. But if you don't need the terrain, if you don't need the dice, the rules, etc., because the Union is not your main faction, for example, then having this box plus the Lakota Battle Group is going to be enough. And you're going to have some infantry, some tanks, some everything. I think you're quite good with this to play smaller to middle-sized game. To 1,000 points, maybe 1,500, I need to calculate, but yeah, it's going to be something like this. Then, of course, if you want to go all in, you take the Union Faction Battle Group and both sets of Lakota and the Durango battle groups. And then you can play like very high-scale games. It's well, yeah, that would be my recommendation for sure. Yeah, I need to be more careful. It's how to expand number 2, not number 3, because the number 3 is going to be the Corsairs. So it's a little box with 18.75 euros each, so about 15 on my replace. And you get one aircraft, which is actually quite huge. Like, I mean, it's the correct size of an aircraft. But damn, aircrafts are big in real life. And they are really interesting. It's the most expensive in terms of points aircraft in the game currently. 120, 205, and 310 for the full strength squadron of 3 aircraft. And they're really interesting. Defense 2, damage limit 3. I made a whole video about the aircrafts, how they activate, because there is a little thing to be careful with. They don't activate like other units and stuff. They just make strafing runs. You can intercept and everything, okay? The Corsairs are very fast. They have those rules, supercharged and headed. It means that they are so fast, the enemy has less chances to intercept and everything. Okay, very good. And hot-headed means that, I'll make it short, basically you can use give them hell on them. So they can be suppressed, which means they cannot use give them hell, so that's important if your enemy can do that. But otherwise it means they're anti-light with give them hell, for example full strength, but even not full strength, like even just reinforced 2 aircrafts, 8 dice devastating, give them hell, it's going to be absolutely insane. Or against aerial units, it's going to be just as lethal, and you can even shoot at heavies, even though I'm not recommending it that much. Very good aircraft. I think having just one of them for 5 dice against light, it means you can go and hunt some Jezzail of the Empire or whatever elite infantry unit the enemy is hiding with sniper or mortars or whatever, and you can absolutely devastate them for cheap, 120 points. You can hunt them really well and force the enemy to keep its anti-aircraft bubbles and stuff. With 5 dice devastating, give them hell. I mean, you're gonna kill a few guys each time you attack, and this guy is resilient enough that unless the enemy has good anti-aircraft firepower, defense 2, damage limit 3, anti-aircraft unit weapons are usually not that powerful, it might survive almost until the end of the game. Alright, that is going to be it for this video. I hope that you enjoy and that it was useful. Tell me what you think if you're a Union player of this new box. I will be honest, when I heard that, okay, we're getting a new train, I was like, okay, I wanted something else. I wanted a big tank. I wanted another behemoth or something else. It's the first time we have an expansion box for any faction at all. I'm glad it's my Union that got it first. And I was like, yeah, but another train, sure, great. And tank transport, yeah, great. Now I can transport my tank at the same time as my infantry. Amazing. I was a bit like blasé of this, and I was like, yeah, sure. But actually, with the rules, and plus it looks cool, it actually opens up so many new pathways. Having this wagon here, like this engine that has significant, not crazy, but significant anti-air firepower is a big change actually. And the flatbeds are such incredible design. Ammo supply, assault ramp, open top, those 3 together with a tough frame for a very cheap price make me say like, okay, you can really open new things, transport mechs, transport tanks, even artillery with open top. You can do really crazy things with this, and great jobs to the game developers and the rules writer, because I was a bit not excited of learning about this, but when I started to read the rules I was like, wow, it just pops so many new combos. So amazing work there. Plus the box is good because you have 2 flatbeds and 2 Newhavens, which is exactly what you want. So thanks for giving the player what they actually need. Now we just need a way to drop the bunkers before the game begins, and I will be very happy with my Union. That being said, you know how it works, guys. Thumbs up, comments, you can win, and so we get more visibility on YouTube and more people start to learn about Armoured Clash. Subscribe, share with your friends. Best way to help us is through my replays. You know how it works. Thank you very much for staying with us, guys, year after year. And until the next video, take care of yourself and remember to keep things fair in love and war games. Bye!